The Amazing Spider-Man is the next film.
Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, hi.
We're not going to take questions just yet. At the end,
No, I'm sorry. Do you mind if I just quickly... I'm sorry. Hey, everybody!
We're going to take questions at the end.
I'm sorry. Do you mind if can I say one thing? I think this might be the most incredible day of my life, and I've always wanted to be at Comic-Con in Hall H as Spider-Man with all of you guys. It's always been a dream of mine.
All right.
So thanks for having me. You have no idea how much this means to me. I've always wanted to come here as a fan, and this is my first time, so here I am as a fan. I just want to say a couple of things. I'm Andrew Garfield, and I'm going to be here introducing this panel, this amazing Spider-Man panel. Stan Lee said...
It's hard to think that this happened 9 years ago. I can distinctly remember as a kid watching it and being filled with excitement. At this age, I didn't even realise who Andrew Garfield was, apart from the guy that was in Doctor Who that one time. But I was still a child of the 2000s, and I'd grown up with the original Raimi trilogy. Back then, all I cared about was who this new Spider-Man was, how he'd differ from Tobey Maguire, and above all, what his new take on the character would be like. And with 9 years of hindsight, when I re-watched this clip, I don't see my earliest memories of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Instead, I see a fan just as passionate and excited about the character as every fan both in that audience and around the world. And that only makes me love his portrayal even more. Now, Andrew may be the star of the show, but Marc Webb was the man behind it, and like I said, back then I wasn't a film buff. I didn't avidly go out of my way to look into specific directors' filmographies, or remotely even care who was directing a film in the first place. But once again, with hindsight I can look back and quite easily say that Marc Webb was the perfect man for the job at the time. And it's because of both of the films in this franchise that he's not just my favourite Spider-Man director, but my favourite director. His approach to filmmaking serving as probably the biggest source of inspiration to my own work that I can think of. And without the work that he did on these two Spider-Man films, I probably wouldn't even be here making this video. But what is it that makes me love Marc Webb's films? I mean, back then I didn't even care about who the guy was, let alone care why he was making a Spider-Man film. However, something I realised straight away after watching The Amazing Spider-Man was that Marc cares about one thing above all others when making his films, and that's his characters. The characters in his films feel so real, and I'll get into how that excels in The Amazing Spider-Man more later into the review, but when talking about Marc's films in general, you can clearly see that everything he does is in service to his characters, which is a concept that I've taken with me ever since. With 500 Days of Summer, I found a brilliant movie which made me care immensely about its characters and story, a story that successfully broke free of the conventional rom-com tropes and structure that had kept me away from the genre for so long, instantly changing my perception of it. With his more recent film Gifted, I found a beautiful movie about an uncle and his genius niece that invokes some strong emotions and also happens to be some of the best acting I think I've ever seen come from Chris Evans. It's also undoubtedly my favourite Marc Webb film, so if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend that you do. Then we have The Only Living Boy in New York, a film that despite its weak writing, I still somehow cared about its characters in a way that only Marc Webb could achieve. Plus, it has Jeff Bridges, and how can you not love Jeff Bridges? And finally, with The Amazing Spider-Man, I found a film that would truly cement Spider-Man as my all-time favourite fictional character. So why is that? I think to effectively get my opinions on the movie across, I'm going to have to take a step back and look at why so many people avidly dislike this movie, and just why it's so polarising to begin with. And because of that, I think the best and most easiest place to start is with Peter Parker himself. The main criticism of Garfield's Peter that I see is that he's way too cool and doesn't fit the character.
Crouch! Just let me go.
Is that a knife? Is that a real knife?
Yes, it's a real knife.
My weakness, it's small knives.
Which I of course completely disagree with. I think the majority of criticisms against his interpretation come from the fact that there's a large majority of Spider-Man fans who view Raimi's movies as the gold staple of the franchise, and because of that their opinion becomes skewed somewhat. Now, let me make it clear that I'm not necessarily saying that the Raimi films are bad, and I love all three of them, and I'm definitely not saying that they aren't accurate to the character either. But I think one thing is certain, and that's that they are directly inspired by the much older Steve Ditko, Stan Lee era of the character, while The Amazing Spider-Man sets out to tell a story that's far more modern and relatable to today's generation. And to complain that Garfield's Peter isn't accurate because he isn't anything like the cheesy goofball nerd that Maguire portrayed is like saying that every era of Spider-Man's comics that didn't have Lee and Ditko at the helm is invalid. It's not the 60s anymore, and things change. Comic book characters haven't been the bright and colourful entertainment pieces that they were back then for some time now, and to say that the film can't replicate any era of comics that they want is to me a very boring way to live. But with that little rant over, let me get on to why I love Andrew's Peter.
4, 3, 2, 1. Ready or not, here I come.
At the beginning of the film, we get a glimpse of a far younger Peter Parker, one whose entire life is turned upside down for reasons that both he and the viewer do not fully understand. His parents are forced to leave, and he is of course left in the care of his aunt and uncle. It's this moment that really defines Peter's arc for the entire film, and it shows us that this isn't a Peter who struggles because he's being bullied at school, although of course that element is still there, but instead this is a Peter whose lack of a father figure has put such an immense emotional strain on him that he just doesn't care about anything else. He's isolated and feels alone, and he has absolutely nobody to talk to, not even his own family. We have loads of moments to help drive this message forward. The first of these being when Peter finds his father's briefcase and becomes instantly engulfed by the items within it. His aunt and uncle of course choosing to lie to him, believing that keeping Kurt's identity a secret is the right thing to do. Uncle Ben soon buckles under the pressure anyway, and tells him who the man pictured next to his father is, and we get a brilliant moment between the two characters, culminating in the line,
Uncle Ben? You're a pretty great dad, alright?
further honing in that father figure mentality that runs through the rest of the film. Scenes like this are something that I find rather lacking in the Raimi trilogy. Whilst we get brief periods of Peter and Ben interacting with each other, there's nothing quite like what Webb does here. Seeing these two characters simply sitting down and talking really helps build their relationship, and that only makes it even more tragic when it's taken away. The big, with great power comes great responsibility moment in this film may be handled differently here, and yes, they definitely tried to write it in a different way, just because they didn't want it to be some cookie-cutter copy of what Raimi did. But regardless of that, I don't really see it as an issue. And I believe that Ben's message of responsibility can easily be conveyed without even necessarily saying those words. But anyway, now we're just getting off topic. Towards the end of this scene, Ben obviously brings up Peter's father, and uses him as the catalyst for what he has to say. This of course invokes a very strong reaction in Peter, and once again, without those individual moments between Peter and Ben before this, I really don't think this would carry even remotely the same level of impact that it does here.
Yeah, listen to me, son.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're a lot like your father. You really are, Peter, and that's a good thing. But your father lived by a philosophy, a principle, really. He believed that if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
That's nice. That's great. It's all well and good, so where is he?
What?
Where is he? Where's my dad? He didn't think it was his responsibility to be here to tell me this himself.
Oh, come on, how dare you?
How dare I? How dare you?
After the clash between Peter and Ben, Peter storms out and we get a scene of him unable to buy some chalky milk, which some criminal helps steal for him. Peter, who by this point in the movie is an alpha level Chad, then refuses to help the store owner catch him. Sound familiar? Yeah, of course it does. It happened in the comics. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the Raimi films. Alright, moving on. Of course, the criminal kills Uncle Ben, who was out looking for Peter, and because of this, Peter loses yet another father figure, all because he was too arrogant to understand that Uncle Ben was just trying to help. Now yet another criticism I see of Garfield's Spider-Man is that he was born from vengeance, more interested in catching Uncle Ben's killer than helping the average Joe save their cat from a tree or some shit. I'm looking at you, Mr. Incredible. But to be honest, I really don't understand that critique of the character at all. By that logic, comic Peter isn't accurate to himself because he also was born out of revenge. Hell, even Maguire's Spider-Man, which so many seem to believe can do no wrong, went after Ben's killer and inadvertently killed him. The only difference in this film is we get a far more expanded look at that period of his origin story. And another argument against that is, yeah, but the guy is wearing the suit and still acts like that, and to that all I have to say is, like it or not, the guy was an equally cocky shit in the comics, whilst wearing the suit. Even after donning his first official Spider-Man suit, Peter still isn't Spider-Man. He's just a vigilante going out after his uncle's killer. The suit fueling his ego and nothing more. The first time we see that begin to change is when he goes to Gwen's for a family meal, coming face to face with her father, Police Captain George Stacy, who isn't exactly quiet about the fact that he hates what Peter is doing. Peter, of course, tries to defend himself, but gets so utterly beaten down by George that this may as well act as a reminder of what Uncle Ben told him before all of this began.
Is assaulting people? I'm not sure. I mean, I saw that video. Him and the car thief, and I think most people would say that he was providing a public service.
Most people would be wrong. If I wanted the car thief off the street, he'd already be off the street.
So why wasn't he then?
Let me illuminate you. See, the car thief was leading us to the people who run the entire operation. It's been a 6-month-long sting. It's called strategy. I'm sure you're aware of the term strategy. You've probably heard about that in school.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, obviously he didn't know you had a plan.
You seem to know an awful lot about this case. You know something that we don't know? I mean, whose side are you on here?
I'm not on anyone's side. I saw a video on the internet.
Oh. You saw the video on the internet. Well, then the case is closed.
Well, no, I'm just saying if you watch the video, maybe he sends you a link. It looks like he's really trying to help.
Yeah, sure. On the internet, he's being made out to look like some kind of masked hero or something.
No. I'm not saying he's a hero. I don't think he's a hero at all.
What are you trying to say?
I'm saying he's trying to help, and it looks like he's trying to do something maybe the police can't.
Something that police can't?
I don't know.
What do you think we do all day? Think we just sit around eating donuts with our thumbs planted firmly up our asses?
Daddy.
Is that what you think we
George.
do down there?
Up your what, Dad? Howard.
I think he stands for what you stand for, sir. Protecting innocent people from bad guys.
I stand for law and order, son. That's what I stand for, okay? I wear a badge. This guy wears a mask like an outlaw.
He's hunting down a bunch of criminals that all look the same, like he's got some sort of personal vendetta. But he's not protecting innocent people, Mr. Parker.
Let's get some air, Peter. Dad, we need to talk.
Yes, we do.
Making Peter realize that he hasn't upheld the morals that not just his uncle, but his own father believed in. Then we have the scene on the rooftop where Peter reveals his big secret to Gwen, and here we get yet another moment that further hones in the idea that Peter still doesn't refer to himself as Spider-Man, outright refusing to even let Gwen refer to him by that name.
Shut up.
The rooftop scene then ultimately leads to the bridge scene, which is for many the best scene in the film, and in which he ditches his pursuit of the lizard to instead save a boy from certain death, returning him to his father and officially owning the name Spider-Man.
You okay? Oh. My son. My son. My son. Who are you? Spider-Man.
This is when Peter becomes the Spider-Man that we all know and love. Not when he's bitten by the spider, not when Uncle Ben dies, not when he makes the suit, but here. And in this scene, Peter realizes that he needs to use his powers responsibly and not just to aid him in his blind quest for vengeance. Anyway, now that I've talked about Peter's character for so long, and why I believe that everything the character does is both compelling and fully justified, we better rewind so that I can talk about all the other aspects of this film that I've missed out. Now, I'd be a fool if I discussed this movie without talking about Gwen, because like I said earlier, it is here where Marc Webb shows us just how capable he is when directing characters, because the chemistry between Peter and Gwen in this movie is absolutely phenomenal, and some of the best and most real acting that I've ever seen.
What?
I don't know. Just, I don't know, we could, or we could do something else, or we could, if you don't, I mean, like, we could...
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, either one.
Really?
Sure, you could say that the two were dating at the time, and that could have been the reason they played so well off each other here, and while that could certainly be the case, I still believe that Marc is truly the one to blame for just how brilliant their roles are in this film. Every moment the two are on screen together, it doesn't matter what sort of scenario they're in, it always feels so damn real and organic. Nothing feels forced, and because of that you just end up feeling so heavily invested in the two of them.
I've been bitten.
So have I.
Okay. I gotta tell you this one thing. And it's about the vigilante and the car thief, alright?
Oh, okay.
No. Okay, no, forget that. I'm not gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about me.
Compare Peter and Gwen in this film to Peter and Mary Jane in the Raimi trilogy, and you just immediately see which one is superior. Gwen feels like a real character. The reasons Peter like her feel real, and their relationship just feels real. Raimi's MJ, on the other hand, slept with half of New York, got kidnapped in every movie, and then ended up with Peter anyway. Not as compelling if you ask me. Now, that isn't to say that the chemistry between Peter and Gwen is the only thing that feels real in this film. As I said earlier, the moments between Peter and Ben feel just as well done, and that extends to nearly any other character in this film too. Sally Fields as Aunt May is by far my favourite interpretation of the character, and seeing her trauma at the sight of Peter constantly coming in beaten up, coupled with the pain of Ben's death, humanises her on a level that I personally don't think any other live-action version of May has been able to achieve.
Where were you?
I was out.
Did you get the eggs?
Nope, forgot the eggs. I'm gonna get them now.
No, you most certainly will not. Not at this hour. Look at me, Peter. Take off the damn hood and look at me. Where do you go? Who does this to you?
Please go to sleep, Aunt May.
Please tell me.
Aunt May, please go to sleep.
I can't sleep.
Hell, you know when a box of eggs serves as one of the most important parts of the film that Marc's doing something right. We also get Chris Zilka as Flash Thompson, by far the best version of the character ever put to screen, and his relationship with Peter is both realistic and compelling. We see him go from the school jock that bullies Peter to him knowing what it's like to get bullied himself.
Go ahead, take it.
To realizing everything he's been doing to Peter has been wrong and attempting to reconcile with him.
Come on, man, I just want to talk. Feels better, right? Look, your uncle died. I'm sorry.
And then finally, the two of them becoming best friends. The guy even wears a Spider-Man t-shirt, showing that even he is a nerd at heart.
What's up, Parker? What's up? Hey, how's it going? You coming along, man? It's a cool shirt. Yeah, dude's crazy. The chicks dig him.
And to be honest, it pains me that we didn't get more of it. And finally, how could I not talk about Kurt Connors? I've talked a lot about the main theme of this movie being Peter's search for a father figure, and this of course extends extensively to Kurt Connors. Kurt not only serves as a potential father figure for Peter due to their shared passion for science, but also his relationship with Peter is also what indirectly leads to Ben's death. If Peter wasn't spending more time with Kurt, then Peter picks up May. Ben doesn't get angry with him, and I'm sure you get the rest. However, despite Kurt having the potential to be this really influential part of Peter's arc, and don't get me wrong, he still is, but even then, I still feel he's the only part of this film that isn't as good as it should have been. And I use should instead of could, because the better version of the character was filmed. However, Sony instead decided to take out all of Kurt's truly great humanizing moments, and instead turned him into a shell of what he could have been. Only a few of his truly great scenes left for us to enjoy.
Lily.
Hey.
Hey. Don't worry, I'm not going to hug you in front of your friends.
What's that?
It's nothing, nothing. Listen, I just wanted to tell you I'm going away for a while.
Where?
Research trip, you know.
When will you be back?
I'm not sure. Who said that?
Michelangelo, right?
A man who knew a bit about reshaping raw materials.
Yeah.
I tried to fix myself, but it's impossible.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna get you back.
Would you go back? After all you know you can do, all the power you feel, would you give it all up?
And that's where my only issues with this film come from. We've seen it 1,000 times, but it's never been as prolific as it has been with Sony's involvement with Spider-Man. Sure, you could argue the execs at Warner Bros. Forced Zack Snyder to cut content from his movie, but here we see the execs at Sony trying to manipulate and change truly great ideas at a core level, either because they personally didn't think it would be exciting enough, or that they wouldn't make enough money. And of course, I say execs, when what I really mean is Avi Arad. And I'll talk more about Arad when I do a review of the sequel, but it cannot be excused that he seems to be incapable of letting great directors fully realise their vision. We saw it with Raimi, we saw it with Webb, and now we're seeing it with Venom. But I guess that's what happens when you make a toy salesman an exec, huh? Overall, regardless of the minor studio interference with this film, I still love it. It stood the test of time as my all-time favourite superhero movie, and it's probably one of my all-time favourite movies in general. It's a movie that inspired the pathetic 12-year-old version of myself to go out and make cringy Spider-Man fan films. It's a movie that changed my entire approach to writing and my enjoyment of storytelling. It's a movie that turned me into the massive comic book fan I am now, and above all else, to put it simply, it's the movie that made me who I am today, and without it, God knows what would have happened to me. And because of that, I'd be a fool if I didn't give it a 10 out of 10, and that's also why I believe that The Amazing Spider-Man is truly amazing. Hey guys, thanks for watching this review. If you enjoyed it, remember to hit like and subscribe, and if you want to catch all my videos as soon as they go live, remember to hit that bell notification and you'll get a notification whenever I post anything on the channel. You can even change it so that you only see a personalized amount of videos. But yeah, thanks for watching guys, and as always, I will see you on the next video.